Salmon, likely everybody's favorite fish here in North America. It's readily available in the supermarket. You get it in cans. Salmon is very ubiquitous in North America, and it's found in cuisines around the world. And in this era of climate action, we're trying to figure out how to eat more responsibly. So what we're starting to see is more sustainably raised salmon making it into the supermarkets and onto the plate. But a lot of people have fear of cooking seafood, and there's good reason. It's very easy to overcook. Today, I'm just going to show you two very easy ways on how I cook salmon that hopefully you can adapt and adopt to become your own, and you too will be knocking off salmon at home for you and your family very easily. Stay tuned. Greetings everybody, welcome to Brian's Table. I'm Brian Singh, and today we're going to be cooking salmon. I'm going to show you two ways to cook salmon and one very interesting optional step that I hope that you add to your repertoire that will take your salmon game to a whole new level. Let's get into the salmon first. I have here, this is Atlantic Farm salmon. What you're going to get more than likely today at your Costco, at a supermarket, you're going to get farm salmon. There's a move afoot to improve the quality of it. You could actually get sushi grade farm salmon now, and it's wonderful. But more than likely, you're going to sacrifice a little bit of flavor to actually enjoy farm salmon. This one, as you can see, it's a little bit less orange than a wild salmon. Very important thing that you have to consider when you are buying seafood is it fresh seafood? And when you are faced with a steak like this, how do you assess the quality of that salmon? There's a number of things. One, you do a visual inspection. Does it look fresh? Does the colors vibrant? Is there anything dull on here? If you start to see dull colors, and you can also look on the other side here, is the skin looking bright and fresh? This looks like a good piece of salmon on visual inspection. Is it nice and springy to the touch? If it's old salmon, it will leave a indentation in the flesh. The most critical stage is, and you have a right to do this as a consumer, you should smell the salmon. Smell the fish. It should not smell like fish. It should smell clean, it should smell like the ocean. Only then do you know you have a fresh piece of salmon. So, use those simple tips and you too should be able to acquire a good piece of fish. Now, this one is about 320 grams, so about 3/4 of a pound. I would guess you could feed 3 people, with this at about, 100 to 120 grams per person, and a small portion for a child. But if you want to have a fairly large portion, you could divide this into 160 grams, which would be a fairly substantial portion. So let's do that to start, and that way I could show you how to cook this in 2 ways. So let's just go down the middle here and cut this in half. And you try to use the minimum number of knife strokes to cut your fish. So I'm just going to use 1, and hopefully that didn't quite go all the way through. Beautiful. As you can see here, that is beautiful, bright, very fresh salmon. Everything just looks great. One of my favorite flavors in salmon is smoked salmon. And have you ever had salmon with a hit of smoke? That's what we're going to do, and this is an optional step. I have a smoking gun and I use it for my dinners. Currently, I'm in Calgary, my smoking gun is in Ottawa. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to jerry-rig a smoking device to give this salmon just a hint of smoke. The first step of this optional component is to take your salmon and put it into a large Tupperware container. The next step is going to involve some very specialized equipment. I have a volcano. If you know, you know what this is for. Yeah, it's a vaporizer and it's very powerful. But one of the things it does do, it pushes air through a base here. So in the base here, I'm going to put the base for where you put your dried herb in there, and I'm going to put some wood chips in there. So I have a glass chamber. I'm going to put some wood chips in. When I got my smoking gun, I got all these extra wood chips. As you can see, it's from Polyscience, and it's meant to be used with a smoking gun. And I feel a little bit of apple would impart a nice little flavor onto the salmon. So let's do it. There we go. And so that smoke's coming out of here, and I'm going to put it right into my chamber, and I'm just going to add a hint of smoke in there. Whoa, excellent. We're going to leave that smoke and let it do its work for 5 minutes. And it worked, and it's smoky. So at this point in this optional step, let's open the Tupperware and let's release whatever smoke is residual here. Salmon is a delicate fish, so it takes on a lot of the flavors that you impart on it. So at this point, the smoke will add a lovely little boost of flavor, bring a little smokiness to the salmon, that when you treat it with the other two methods of cooking I'm going to show you now, that it really accentuates the flavor. Method number 1, we're going to sous vide the salmon. So I'm going to take one piece first, and this relies upon 3 very simple ingredients. 1, salt and pepper. So I have this as my Dalmatian blend, and I'm just going to give this a light sprinkling. I'll start on the skin. Very light. You don't need a lot on this one. Pat it down, and on this side, a little light sprinkling, and that should do that. Make sure you just go around and pick up the rest. It's like a Roomba, isn't it? And we're going to take our next ingredient, which is our lemon. We use that nice fatty in here and put that there. And I'm going to put this in the vacuum sealing bag. And you know what? I think this is most probably the hardest part of this dish, to actually do this right. Okay, let's go to the vacuum sealer. Let's put it in the vacuum chamber here. Let's get that nice and pull that down there. Make sure that's nice and sealed. And normal. Let's go. Excellent. Our salmon is sealed, and now to the sous vide unit. So I've had my sous vide now heating at 133, which is approximately 56 degrees Celsius, which is an ideal temperature to poach salmon. And this is most probably the most technical part of this process of cooking salmon. We're going to put the salmon in here, vacuum sealed, for 20 minutes. Just rest it in there. Have that out there. And I'm going to just set the timer here for 20 minutes. And by the time that goes off, that'll be done. It's that simple. All right, let's move on to the second method, and we'll round back and I'll show you the results of both methods. Method number 2, it is to pan sear your salmon. So I'm going to use my trusty cast iron pan because I really want steady and even heat, and I also want a very hot heat to start. While you could traditionally use a stainless steel pan, you really want to have something with a bit of heft on the bottom so that it retains the heat and that is transferred to the salmon, and the salmon would benefit from that high and even heat. Let's go and prepare the salmon for the cast iron skillet. Method number 2, we're going to pan sear the salmon. So let's take the salmon out of the chamber where we gave it some smoke. And I want to point out a few things here. If you look at this piece of salmon, it's not even in thickness all the way through. That poses an immediate problem to the accuracy of how you're going to cook the salmon. This part is going to cook faster than this part. So traditionally what you see some people do is they try to equalize on the size of the salmon by tucking that under. Or if you go to a restaurant, and this is where you start to learn about food wastage, is that they do trim off the ends here and here. And if you look at that, you get a very even piece of salmon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim for that part being cooked, and I'm going to use the ends as my indicators to give me a sense of doneness. So for this method, I'm just going to give a very light coating of neutral oil. I tend to like to use either grapeseed or sunflower oil. You don't need a lot here, because again, the main reason why you're doing this for is to let the salt and pepper adhere to the salmon. I'm just going to go on the other side, a little bit on this side here. Great. Nice little massage. Oil massage there. Great. Okay. At this point, salt and pepper, my Dalmatian blend. One other method that I would also encourage you to think about if you want to maintain a moist salmon is to also think about brining your salmon. And brining doesn't really take long. What you'd be aiming for is a 2-part salt to 1 part sugar solution. So let's say 20 grams of salt to 10 parts of sugar. And I would use that in about, half a liter of water. And I would just leave that for about 20 minutes. It doesn't meet that length of time. Then I would give it a hit of smoke. And this last stage with the salt and pepper, let me just make sure here that's nicely salted and peppered. I'm just going to pick it up at the sides. Great. That's ready for the skillet. Let's take it to the stove. I'm just going to rest my salmon first at the back of the stove. I just want to test if this pot is ready for the salmon. So I'm just going to do a little drizzle of water. Oh yeah. That water's beating. That cast iron pot is ripping hot. So this is, to me, the most crucial step of this particular method. When you take this salmon off of your board and you put it in this pot, there's something that I want you to do. And it is taking it skin side down, placing it in the pot, and I want you to press that down. And I want you to keep that pressed down as long as you can. So what that's doing, it's giving you a flat sear on the meat. And that skin is going to get really crispy. But it also creates a flat surface for your salmon to cook on. So I'm just going to leave that there. And this is the magic of the pot and the meat. They're going to do all of the work. So here's a few things to look out for, because one of the easiest ways to cook this is by visual inspection. If you notice, the salmon is cooking from the bottom, i.e. the pan, upwards. So you're starting to see that change in coloration here. So This is one of the tricks of this particular method. You are going to leave the salmon on here a little bit longer than you are comfortable. Because what you want to be able to do is you want to get a good crust on that skin. And that only comes with a little bit of patience and taking the salmon until it's about 2/3 to about 3/4 of the way up. And only then you're going to check to see if it's coming off of the pan and if you're ready for a quick flip. I can go a little bit longer. See how that salmon is nice and loose? That means that skin is nicely charred. We're going to give this a quick flip now, and it should be done in about 1.5 minutes. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Sure, it's a little charred here, but that is some lovely salmon skin there. Let's take a look here. As you can see now, that's all the way done. So that's telling me that this salmon is ready, and we're going to just take it off and we're going to let it rest. I'm just going to put it on the board here. There you go. Look at that. A nice little char on here. And by the time this rests, this should be at temperature. That's beautiful. That's right, coming up to temperature. So it's got another few degrees Fahrenheit to go. And at that, if you leave that for another couple of minutes, that would be beautifully cooked. And that, my friends, is a very simple method, visual inspection, just following the rule of how cooked the salmon is at what particular level, and you're gonna get a lovely charred skin and the flesh will be beautifully cooked. Let's check it on the other method, and let's go back to the counter, and that way I can show you what it all looks like together. And you know that salmon's done. Okay, my timer just went off, so 20 minutes is up. Let's take a look at that fish. Let's take it out of here. And that is perfectly cooked. Let's open her up. Excellent. And I'm just going to slide that puppy out. So there you have it, our two methods of cooking salmon. One, it is in the sous vide, and as you can see, that's beautifully cooked all the way through. I'm just going to cut that in half here for you to see that it's cooked all the way through nicely, just at that point where it's still just tender. And then we also have this one, which we did in the pan sear. I'll show you what that one looks like as well. Oh yeah, that's a nice crispy skin. There you go. Look at that. Beautifully cooked all the way through, not overdone. All right, so while these were being cooked, I took the liberty of wanting to show you how I would enjoy this salmon. So I got my crème fraîche out. I assembled a few veggies here, a little cucumber, bit of zucchini, have a little bit of capers. So let me pull this together and show you how I would enjoy a weeknight salmon here. First things first, I'm gonna put a little bit of crème fraîche down. Again, please go and check out that video. I'm just gonna put a dollop in here, and I'm just gonna move that around. And I'm just gonna take a little combination of this cucumber and zucchini, give it a little mix. And I'm just gonna grab a little handful here, and I'm just gonna put that right down in the center, off to the side. So let's just put that there. Again, it does not have to be perfect. It just needs to look good. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my salmon, I'm gonna take my pan-seared salmon here. Let's just imagine that all together there, beautiful. And the last thing I'm gonna do, before I'm gonna just throw a little bit of capers down, I'm just gonna give this a little bit of a squeeze of lemon. Here. Bring a little extra tang to this. And also it seasons the veggies. I'm gonna give a little drizzle of olive oil to give it a little shine, and it just looks good, right? And a little richness. And the last step, because again, everything just looks fabulous when you do this, I have a little bit of microgreens here that I've had from the weekend, and I'm just gonna put that on top. And there, my friends, is a beautiful weeknight meal of salmon with some veggies, crème fraîche, bit of capers, and a bit of microgreens. And you know what? Having that as a weeknight meal with a bit of potatoes or just enhances the salad, it's fantastic. I would highly recommend that you give this a go. Okay, folks, I want to know about your salmon game. So in the comments below, let me know what your favorite salmon dish is, and maybe I may make it. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate the time that you've taken to spend with me and enjoy my videos. And if you like what you're seeing, please hit the like button and also subscribe. It really helps me understand how to improve the channel and grow its audience. And to also get more people like yourself enjoying a lot of very tasty food at home, using some of these methods to deploy simply and effectively to make some really tasty meals. And you know what that's going to lead to? It's going to help you taste the world just a little bit better.